We've been asked by a viewer to kind of expand on some of the big things that Dave Ziegler has done with the Patriots organization. I think it's a big question. You know, you bring in a GM, you know, you hear a lot of these people say, oh, he's a great signing. You know, he did a lot of great things over the last couple of years, and I get it. You know, and I think, you know, it's kind of on us for not doing that at an earlier date, but I do, before we even get into this and before I even get into all of my my rambling here, I'm going to say, again, I think this was the right two hires you had to make for your franchise. You saw what the Patriots built, and you know, really, quite honestly, I'm expecting only good things from Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels as two top leaders in the Raiders organization. So, you know, I think we really need to start with free agency here. You know, and again, I think from my recollection, Dave Ziegler was only on like on the upper tier, like in the player personnel department in the last couple of years with the Raiders. By the way, we got a lot of our information from silverandblackpride.com. They're literally, the name of the article is Dave Ziegler's NFL Draft to Free Agency History. We you know, they did a tremendous job. We actually we're already outlining 3 or 4 players that they pulled lists from, but they have a complete list. Make sure you guys check it out. We'll link it down in the description and below. But we're going to get right into it right now. And I want to start again with free agency and Dave Ziegler's specific role in that. Now, if you take a look in here, I think 2021 was the year that he really had more of a hand in kind of the some of the Patriots personnel decisions, not necessarily the general manager, but he had a lot of help. I think he really helped Bill Belichick out a lot. But we'll start with free agency here. You want to talk about, I think the name of the game here is value. And I think when I say value, some of you might, you know, when you say, okay, value, what does he mean by value? I mean that if you have a team that has 5, well, like let's take the Rams, for example. They have what, 5, 6, 7 players that are all A players, like top guys. You know, you talk about Odell, Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald, I'm Jalen Ramsey. Like there's 4 or 5. I know I'm forgetting a couple of players, but just bear with me for a second. You have 5 or 6 players that are A players, A+ players. Okay, you know, they're superstars, whatever. But you need everything else around them. You know, and there's evidence, you know, all around. Even with the Rams, you could take a lot of the examples that we, you know, I think there's a whole list that we've made, but anyway, the point is this: you need everybody else around them to be able to build around them. Like you need, if you have, it's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty to have, let's say, Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. That's like, you know, I would say an 87, 88 overall at this point in his career. To have him paired with a guard, you know, like a guard like Austin Corbett. That's a player we've outlined. That's, you know, he is at least an 80. So if you compare him with like another guard like Drew Smear a couple years ago from the Vikings, that's, you know, like a 60, it's not going to do you any good. In fact, it's going to be kind of bad. So you need to be able to get guys that are good value, that'll bring you a good amount of production for the next couple of years. And we're going to go back to it here. But the name of the game is value. Superstars and get value players to be able to fill those other needs here. And he did it. He did it with the Patriots. We'll take a look right here. Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, $15 million. Kendrick Bourne had possibly one of the most underrated years as a Patriot last year, or in the entire NFL. You saw some big things what he could do with you know, like average, maybe above average quarterback play with Jimmy Garoppolo. That might be a little bit you know, a little bit rosy outlook, but you saw Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, $15 million. He got over 50 passes for over 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's $5 million a year. Right now, I think Justin Jefferson is making over $10 million. That's, you know, and a guy like Hunter Renfrow, I think he's still in his rookie contract. $5 million a year, and you get that type of production value. That's what we're talking about. Also, Devon Goodchow. I never get these names right. I'm so sorry. But another guy that was kind of just brought in to be a run-stuffing defensive tackle, but man, did he do that and more. 2 years, $15 million. You know, I think the Vikings right now have, I think it was Dalvin Tomlinson and Michael Pierce. They're both getting like $9 million a year or $11 million a year. So for this guy to be able to come in and add some pressure and also just be able to stuff the run, a 64.4 PFF grade, you know, $7.5 million. Again, he's not the pass rusher that Dalvin Tomlinson or Michael Pierce might be necessarily, but he stuffs the run and he can get some pressure too. That's good value right there. Also, Jalen Mills at this point in his career is still a very respectable corner. Now, he did allow 6 touchdowns. We outlined that, but overall, I believe he allowed like what, under 500 yards receiving this year. You know, and you get that at what, $6 million a year. Again, we've seen corners that are getting, you know, J.C. Jackson is projected to get like $17 million a year. So you get some really good, and I get it. You know, there is, again, superstars and there is levels here, but overall, this is really good value from a guy like Jalen Mills. Then you also look over the last couple of years. And the reason I'm bringing up, wide receiver, you're going to see a trend here. Wide receiver, D tackle, corner. Oh yeah, what are the Raiders? I feel like the Raiders' biggest needs, I've said it from the beginning. They need a good wide receiver, a defensive tackle that can pass rush and also stuff the run, and also, secondary. I think, and we'll get into that more in just a second, but those are their three needs. And then also look at these last couple of years in 2020, what Ziegler was able to be a part of. You got Demir Bird. Again, sorry about these names. 1 year of $1.6 million, 600 receiving yards. That is great value for a guy that's only making $1 million a year. I know it's only $1 million a year, but that's not a lot in the NFL. But overall, there's 7th round draft picks that are stars, I'm sure, that make at least that. But overall, this guy, his best years, over 40 catches, 600 yards with the Patriots, and I believe he got another contract with the Bears. Anyway, overall, this was a great contract. And also Adrian Phillips, who was an undrafted guy that kind of got picked up by the Chargers and had some good years with the Chargers, but then came back and absolutely kind of for lack of a better term, he refurbished his career. He re-energized his career. A guy that signed a 3-year, $12.75 million contract, and that's $4 or $5 million, 92 total tackles, 80.5 PFF grade. Boom, this guy was one of the best safeties in the NFL. Harrison Smith for the Vikings in comparisons, making $11 million a year. I don't even remember off the top of my head, but you get the point. The name of the game here is value. I think, again, if you can get some of these guys in here that make, that are superstars, that make that big change, okay. But you need to be able to fill it all in else around them. That's what makes the most sense to me. I know I'm actually kind of might be, again, rambling here, but the point of the game is, again, it's value. Surround those superstars with players that can find a way to, at least be upgrades. And, I think when we go into the draft here, I think another need is obviously offensive line, and we'll get into that in just a second. But I think these are the three really big needs for the Raiders. Obviously, offensive line is too. Now let's look at Ziegler's draft history. Boom. Let's take a look here. So last year, obviously, was in with the Mac Jones selection. That shows me these guys can evaluate quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady, now Mac Jones, 2 franchise quarterbacks in a row. I don't really believe in coincidences, so you know what? That's kind of how it is. Over 3,800, I think it was 3,801 passing yards this year, 22 touchdown passes, 13 interceptions as a rookie. I mean, man, he was obviously the right pick, the right fit, and you love to see it. In the second round of this last year's draft, they selected Christian Barmore. Now listen, I thought Christian Barmore was a first-round draft pick. I really did. I felt like he was probably one of the only D tackles. I mean, the way he took over that title game, what was it, last year? I mean, he was a first-round draft pick in my mind. But in the 30th overall pick, you get him here. He's a guy that had over 40 tackles for you, a 63.4 PFF grade, and 1.5 sacks. I mean, you love it. Also, same draft. Ramondre Stevenson, running back. A guy that really exploded as the years went on. Got him in the 4th round. Again, I've said it. And this comes as, obviously Josh Jacobs, I think the big question here is, could you trade him? It's a possibility, especially if you can get talent. If you can get a player in there like Ramondre Stevenson that has over 600 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. I mean, you love it. You absolutely love it to get that kind of a player at that kind of a place in the draft. And that's what Ziegler, I think that's what you're seeing with him. His history, he's getting these quality players through the draft that can do a lot of things. Then you go to a guy like Kyle Duggar, a second-round safety. I can't even pronounce this, guys. It sounds French. His legitimate college, I'm going to try to say it. I don't know why I didn't put it in here. But again, I'm going to try to say it here. I want to say it's Lenore. I sound stupid. I know I do. Lenore Rhine, or I'm sorry. I never even heard of it. Division II, from what I had seen. And I think this was a risky pick, but it obviously worked out. A guy that's in his second year, 71.8 PFF grade, 92 tackles, 4 picks. He's one of the highest and best graded safeties in the NFL right now, a former Division II football player. And again, you like it when they take risks and it pans out. I mean, I feel like Dave Ziegler and the rest of that staff, they do their homework, and this just shows. And again, in the 6th round, they selected Michael Onwenu or whatever. Again, got out of Michigan. 6th round, 182, 87.0 PFF grade, 3 penalties and only 2 sacks. One of the best young guards in the entire game. Boom, there you go. That's, again, they can evaluate, and they've done that and through many years throughout the Patriots organization in terms of getting quality offensive linemen. And we can make another video about that, but you guys get the point. Dave Ziegler has been a big part of what the Patriots have been able to do these last couple of years. Now, before that, obviously you can make a debate that the rest of the organization, but Dave Ziegler these last couple of years has been a big part of why you are seeing value in both free agency and the draft, because he addresses key needs, and they get a lot of value in those key needs. Quarterback is one, and I think that could be big in the future if you want to move on from a guy like Carr, which you got in my mind, especially with his contract extension, you got 4 or 5 more years. Defensive tackle, I felt, I don't think they have any defensive tackles under contract for this year, so that's a big thing. They need to find out, they need to find that defensive tackle depth, and also those guys that can get after the passer and just do it all in the early rounds of the draft and also the late. And I think Ziegler has been able to do that. You're seeing him hit on first and second round draft picks. That's huge. That's half the battle in being a general manager these days. You're getting quality players in the 6th round. Kyle Duggar also, like we said, he's sitting on those high picks, and also Michael Onwenu. It's just, you're getting quality. You're going to be able to get a GM that's going to hit on those picks in the early rounds. And also, I got to also say this: are there going to be bad times? Yes. There's going to be times he misses. Everybody misses. That's the draft. There's no guarantees. But I think with his just brief history with the Patriots, I think he has shown that he is a really good talent evaluator, and that he can find talent at basically any whatever it is, whether it's free agency or the draft. And you know that there is research, there is development that's going behind it. And again, I think a small part of it too is the Patriots have been one of the best historical franchises in terms of developing talent. I think we're going to see that with the Raiders too. So I think, if you want to take a look back at Dave Ziegler's free agency and draft history, hopefully we provided kind of a big, kind of a look back at it. But again, the boys up at silverandblackpride.com, they did a great job of really outlining the full history. But these are a couple things that we felt right now, the biggest needs that you really need to take a look at. And again, we'll link down below into the description as to for you guys to take a look at that article, because it's a very good article. But overall, that's a quick look back at Dave Ziegler's free agency and draft history. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. I would greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are all truthfully awesome, and we love every single one of you. Make sure you guys also, in the description down below, there's all of our social media platforms. Give us a like and a sub. Also give us a listen and sub on iTunes. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com, or put your question, thing you'd like us to cover in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about a brief look back at Dave Ziegler's free agency and draft history.